Destiny has a lot of interesting areas, and these are no exception. So today I'm just gonna take you on a trip, and we're gonna waste your time, quite literally, so that I can show you the interesting areas, in my opinion, and like dungeons and stuff like that, that I guess you could say don't have attention to detail, that are missing and people don't really appreciate, because we do, but they just kind of get overlooked. So I kind of just want to highlight it because Solstice is basically leaving this week, so there's nothing better to do, so we might as well waste some time with something to watch as you eat. So go get a plate. So we're gonna start off with what I like to call the little trophy rooms that Bungie, in my opinion, like a couple of years ago, maybe Beyond Light going forward, is when they started to do this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, I guess you could say there's like 5 or 6 planets or destinations, for lack of a better term, that have like a trophy room where you basically go and collect 9, 10, 11 things like scattered, and you basically can display them somewhere. Now, Neomuna action figures and stuff like that, in my opinion, this is one of the cooler rooms because of the lighting, the aesthetic, the plants. It looks very modern, feels like the back section of an IKEA, and that's really it. There's nothing much going on here. It's just action figures in their little collection boxes, and I don't know, Neomuna can be its own separate video, but we're gonna start here for the sake of this video, and let's go take a look at other ones, because even though this one is like right here, we also have an additional one right here, immediately off spawn in the moon in Sanctuary. Now, if you go down here, you can basically find like a, I guess you could say like a Bad Bunny shrine. Basically, you have all these little bunny action figures that you can collect from like the rice cake things. Or I know it's not the rice cake things, but it's like they're basically scattered and you can just like hold X or whatever to pick them up. Now this area, in my opinion, they're all just like kind of following suit, except 2 of them are like looking to the sides and stuff, but kind of a starter area. I believe this was also the first one that was ever added to the game. It makes sense why it's like so small and not so detailed. Moving on to, in my opinion, the most underwhelming one, which is this little moth cave, I guess you could say, in the Savathun's throne world. It makes sense, you know, moths, Savathun. However, literally like a ankle high pond or like water thing, whatever, and then that's it. Moths basically shimmer, they look cool. This one's like Prestige Master something because it looks different than all the other ones. That's basically it. This one doesn't really have any other color than white and blue, but yeah. So let's actually move on to probably my favorite one, because this, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, is the coolest. Just seeing the bikes here makes it look like it's a cantina, and you have all these bikes from like customers and stuff like that that are just kind of like going for a drink. Kind of cool, gives it a little bit of aesthetic. I feel like this is one of the few places where you get this, like specifically in Europa. It gives it like this very Sirs in town type of feeling that you had like in Destiny 1. And even in Destiny 2 when like IO was still a thing and stuff. But basically here, like behind Barracks, same thing. You have like this little, I guess you could say, command room where you have a bunch of penguins, a bunch of metal penguins that are basically chilling and stuff like that. Basically, I'll be honest, it's not underwhelming because there's a good amount of detail in this room. But the action figures themselves, you know, kind of hit or miss when you compare them to the moths, even though the moths, you know, came out after the fact. Still, pretty cool room. I think we got one more to go, and then after the fact, that, you know, that should be it. Look at these 2 dudes right here. You cannot convince me that both of them are sober. Look at them. What's up? Yeah, no, this dude's high as hell. Anyway, so as we take a look into the beautiful view of like what could have been, yeah, literally what could have been. So I kind of wanted the witness to win, I'll be honest. Enough of that. Beautiful view though. What about down here? Yeah, anyway, so I was doing a little bit of research. This area, really beautiful and all that, but these basically 8, 9 of them, I don't know how many there are like the things that you can collect. I mean, yeah, the speaker would be proud, it's cool and stuff like that, but I honestly believe that the, you know, Neomuna one is like the coolest one, maybe next to like the Beyond Light one, the Europa one. Cool nonetheless. So let's actually move on to dungeons, shall we? Before we actually get to one of the more interesting ones, let's actually talk about where I'm at right now, because a lot of people know this place because of the vines and the colors and whatnot, it being Ghost of the Deep. But, you know, as a person that got a chance to play Titan forever ago when it was still in the game, I'm talking about the planetary destination. When you come to a location like Ghost of the Deep, for example, right? As soon as you spawn, you're greeted and you're kind of just like looking at it because it's like a major dome with like a city in it. It has like a train, it has railroads, it has a bunch of things, right? And this whole area is very similar of one where you basically had to go get some Cade items or whatever. I forgot the name. I'll put the mission on screen. But look at this. You take a sniper and you just look out into the unknown, and like you can see the attention to detail. You can see how abandoned and overgrown it is. It's been a while, yet this area still looks pretty pristine, pretty beautiful, exposed glass up at the top. A lot of stuff that makes you wonder how long this has really been abandoned and how it came into play forever ago. Now we know that this is because of Oryx and whatnot, but still. One of the areas that I've always found to be very interesting, the colors, everything about it. And that's about it. It's like this whole area is kind of eerie to me because the rest of the dungeon looks nothing like it except the coloring, because it's like, insinuating that you're underwater, so you have the blue undertone and all that, which makes sense, It's not going to really be saturated and warm, but I don't know. There's a lot of attention to detail here that kind of gets missed. And you can spawn a tank actually here. A lot of people know that, but if you didn't, now you know. But yeah, let's move on. Now here's another area that is very interesting if you, ignore the circle in the middle for duality. But basically this whole area was like the OG, was it the OG? Probably was the OG, like, firing range, I guess you could say. And it was really cool and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And then it got removed forever ago in the Leviathan days, and now it's duality. Clearly, that's what we know it from. But the fact that this whole area is still in the game and it's like the only way that you can access it, pretty eerie considering, yeah, there's stuff that you can damage and whatnot, but it's like a shell of what it used to be. Now, the area that I'm in right now is still right here in duality. It's just above where you spawn, really. But it basically marked something that I really wanted to also use as a talking point, which was that when you actually go into a dungeon like duality, you had other dungeons that had collectibles, but this is one of the few dungeons where off rip you're greeted with this right here, which might seem like a normal, enemy and stuff like that, which he is, just like a major and whatnot. But you gotta understand, from the point of view of like someone who walks into like this long corridor for a collectible, especially the first one you find in said dungeon, it's not really a surprise or a secret, it's the first secret area that you find, but it kind of gives you, I guess you could say, like a little taste of what's to come, because duality has a lot of, you go up, you go down, you go around, you're basically doing parkour and scaffolding throughout the whole thing. And I don't know, I always thought that this was a very interesting concept, and I feel like duality could have expanded a lot more. And that's not to say that they needed to make the dungeon even, crazier, but yeah, look at this. They got a statue of a dog and everything. That's how they look like. And the thing that you can collect right here between its paws and arms, whatever, you get the point. A lot of these areas that I'm showing you right now, for the most part, are kind of tame. We're actually going to move on to things that I think are more interesting soon, because for instance, you can clearly tell where I am. Now, I actually want to mention something because I have another dungeon right after this one that I want to talk about, but it probably has a word, and I probably don't know what it is, and I don't really care, deal with it. But I basically like to call it the Dark Souls effect, because I feel like FromSoft, Dark Souls games-ish, those type of games, like Dark Souls 1 specifically, it's like Anor Londo, Seath's Castle is like one of the few things where you kind of get like a preview of like the end game, and I feel like another dungeon that I'm going to mention soon does that very well. And Shattered Throne, you can basically see like the tower, the ivory tower, I guess you could say, where you're going to fight the Sunken King and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty cool that you can see it from like virtually anywhere. But I still don't think it does the same. It doesn't have the same effect as the next dungeon that I want to talk about. Now, this little area that I'm in right now, I'm pretty sure some people don't even know about it, because why would you even come here, especially for a chest that sometimes doesn't guarantee you anything. But it's to just kind of draw a perspective. Like, look at how far I am, how disconnected. And this is a explorable area, but I'm actually going to show you a crazier one. And this is what I was talking about, the Dark Souls-ish tower that you can see in the distance that you can go to. But look at this one. This one's even better. I think I said this one was better. I don't know how much better it's going to be, but after you kill the dudes and whatnot, you just got to come to this little side right here specifically. And if you pop a tincture of Queen's Foil, you're going to reveal a path that I think a long time ago, it did take you to a secret chest. Now, I don't think it takes you anywhere. So yeah, let's actually go backstage real quick, behind the scenes real quick, movie magic, and then yeah, right here. If I don't, okay, I'm the smartest. There we go. Let's just pretend like nothing happened and go again. Now, again, it's been forever, since I actually came here for the first time and someone showed me this. So I don't know if there was like a collectible, an Ahamkara bone, a chest. I don't know what was over here. If you have the Cursebreaker, I think that's what it's called. If you have the Cursebreaker seal, you probably are familiar with this area, but a lot of people aren't, because look at where I'm at right now, and on top of that, it's not even just, oh, look at where I'm at. You come to these areas and you can still see the end game. You're very far you're very disconnected, but nothing can really see you. Like, you're over there, nothing can see you. This whole area is like shrouded in fog, basically. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that there's like a pile of bones somewhere around here because there's nothing. This alcove is very, I guess you could say, similar to Duality in a sense, but that's about it. Pretty hidden. Shattered Throne has more. After you beat the first boss, and you basically go to like the elevator with the 4 solar witches, if you hook a right and you stay on the first floor over there, you can basically find another tincture floor, or, you know, secret path to a chest, whatever. So there's a couple of these. I'm pretty sure that there's probably some that haven't even been discovered. And if they have, man. But there's another one for you. So now let's actually go talk about the Dark Souls effect that I was mentioning earlier. And none other than probably one of the most underwhelming dungeons, but rather effective at that, if that makes sense. All right, we're back. And here's the thing. Ouch. So you see this whole, I guess you could say, like, dog lipstick of a tower, and you're like, oh my god, we're here. I don't really have anything to talk about when it comes to Heresy, because like the main kicker for Heresy, when you walk in and you see like the big ass tower, is like the door on the left that's closed because it's Sunday, you know, kind of like Chick-fil-A when you go there and you can't go because it's closed. So there's only one thing that I really want to show you when we actually, because again the door's locked, there's only one thing that I'm going to show you in Heresy that I think is interesting, and it's like right here when we start. So all right, we're here. If you want a fun fact, I've never really thought about this, but you know, dying here makes you get reminded. You can put a rally flag down here, but sometimes, or not sometimes, if you die in this encounter, the rally flag is going to be here, and sometimes it'll glitch out and you can place both of them. So anyway, now that we're up here in the sniper's nest, the vantage point, look down, because this is what I mean. So you're basically in Heresy, you're in the apartment complex, you know, rent simulator, and then you look all the way down. It's all the way down, right? So that you get vertigo. And then you see these 3 little dots. You see this chasm that has like the light illuminating through the crevasse, if you will. And, you know, it's kind of eerie, kind of, oh my god, it's beautiful, oh my god. And then you look all the way down and you zoom in with the sniper, and this is what you're greeted with. Blighttown. No, not. On a serious note, I think the 3 lights, the fog, the spiky architecture, I think a lot of what's going on in this in this video, I guess, this little clip that you're seeing, speaks for itself, because this whole area is visible from the arena itself. Like if you go down there and you aim up, I was looking for a clip and couldn't find it, so sorry, but if you go down there and you aim all the way up, you can actually see this whole area. And even if you go down, you can see a little bit more detail, but it's the fact that you can see the exact path that you have to take all the way down to the actual boss fight. Pretty cool. I think it's an attention to detail that, you know, maybe it got overlooked, maybe it wasn't a big deal, maybe people didn't really care, maybe it didn't really take that much to code, but I think it's very interesting nonetheless. And speaking of, where even are you? Hello? Bing! Get out. Anyway, so speaking of, where's the other one? Interesting enemies and stuff like that, we're actually gonna go on to the next one, because this is one of the more interesting things that I've seen in a dungeon since it came out. So right, I only have a couple things to say here, but welcome to Spire of the Washer, or Ishtar Chronoscopic Analysis, I guess. I think I said washer instead of watcher, sorry about that. Anyway, so basically nothing to see here, just a couple pods and whatnot where they keep the nuclear energy for I don't know, Duracell batteries. And then you go up here, and on the right you can see the little catwalk where you see the boss, right? But you don't know, it's like a wyvern, right? And he really is a wyvern. This is like the only gripe, I guess, that you could have. He's like very similar to a wyvern, so that you don't really think he's like the boss or anything. You just think he's like a random enemy. So he opens the wings and you're like, okay, that's kind of freaky. And then he just keeps going, and then you can stay here for as long as you want. But the many times that I actually loaded this again, and you know, by jumping off the map to spawn, I noticed that he just goes up to the door and he stays there until you basically get out of here. But it's the fact that you can see this enemy from like right here, and they do this intentionally, right? And you're supposed to mimic the path that he goes, but on the left, right? And I think Bungie did this, and it was like a little nod as to, you know, what's to come next after you fight the Akalos boss. But right here, this is where he gets stuck, basically. It's the fact that you have this massive, which I'll show you in a second, you have this massive room that's underground, right? Roof is scorching hot because the sun's hitting it. And this whole area seems cool, seems foggy, seems very, very chill, right? And then you got this thing, and it just keeps going down. And like the more you explore, the more you think to yourself, how deep are we going, right? And I don't even know what it is, but something about areas that are encapsulated, like this one, right? That you can like kind of see, you know, they got a lot of symmetric structure, I guess you could say. It's interesting because there's nothing else here, so you can see there's chairs. People obviously worked here. There's a lot of sand for whatever reason, you know. But yeah, again, like I said, he doesn't really go anywhere. I just thought this was very interesting, and I wanted to highlight it nonetheless. Shout out to Bungie for that, because look at this. All right, this was actually very fun to make, and I'll be honest with you, Neomuna can be its own video if I were to actually take the time to do it. So I might actually will. There's a lot of interesting things that to this day I think people haven't even discovered about Neomuna, so we'll see. Let me know if you're interested in watching that. But as always, I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out, everyone. Have a good one. All right, how's it going? So if you clicked on the, you know, the timestamp, or if you just skipped to it, or if you watch the whole video and you're simply just watching this now, like, oh my god, there's more, part 2, DLC, or whatever. Yeah, kind of. And the only reason I put the disclaimer is because if you're not subscribed to the channel, you don't know who the hell I am, nor do you care, and that's whatever. But the people that are subscribed and have been watching for whatever amount of time, whatever series, whatever, you know, challenge video they found interesting and said, oh, subscribe to this, you know, dude that talks in 2x. Basically, thank you. But apart from that, the only disclaimer, I guess you could say that I'm mentioning this because I suck at not being transparent, because I can be transparent with people just fine. I don't really care about, you know, having a filter and stuff like that. It's more so the fact that obviously as a person that has 6,500 hours on Destiny across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, yeah, this game is dying. I have no issue admitting that, and I know that this game has been dead ever since mid-final shape, I would comfortably say, which sucks because I love it a lot. However, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I'm still gonna play it. I'm like level 300 and something, which that level grind is ridiculously useless. It's not worth it in the slightest, but I'm still playing, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna continue to create the content that a lot of people found me for, because I genuinely enjoy it, regardless of the view count or stuff like that. I couldn't care less. Clearly, that's, you know, apparent if you look at my channel. But I'm also doing this as a disclaimer to let you know I'm also going to start uploading other videos, other content, other games and stuff like that, just because I literally play a shit ton of games, not to just play Destiny nonstop, and that's basically it. So the TLDR is that if you are okay with that and you're down to watch that and stuff like that, I will be catching you soon. And if not, the unsubscribe button is right there, but I'm going to turn down the Destiny content and try to tap out a little bit more while still making the videos, because this game is going downhill at a rapid pace, and yeah, I don't want to get burnt out. So I hope you guys understand. I know a lot of you guys aren't even playing, so yeah. Also, as like a little side note, if you want to actually keep up IRL or know what type of videos and stuff like that, the community tab in my YouTube channel and also the link in the description are going to take you both to a more updated and concise, I guess you could say, roadmap of what I'm going to do, because I've been thinking about this for a long time, and it's just about now the time that I feel comfortable enough doing it, because like I said, I don't care about, you know, all that stuff that a lot of these other creators care about regarding, you know, the player count and all that. I don't care, right? So I'm still going to continue to do me, but if that's, you know, if you subscribed when I had a specific output because the game was at an all-time high, I'm very sorry that the game is so dead now to where you see a video a month. But yeah, now that I actually do feel, I guess you could say, more free, because I'm saying this to people, especially people that are watching, I feel like I don't have that much pressure on me, because, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna stop the yap session here. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm getting shot after this fucking video ends and I'm never gonna upload again, but I'm just letting you guys know that you will see variety. And if you're not cool with that, that's totally understandable, but I advise you to unsubscribe, because I'm not really gonna then just be like, no, never mind, I'm just gonna do Destiny again. If it's neither of the two, it's probably just not upload again, because there's no point. So